Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2023 film The Last Voyage of the Demeter, and I actually watched it just through Vudu. I just rented it. It's like $6 and some change with tax, so pretty nominal fee in order to watch a movie like this, and you're getting your money's worth because it is a 2-hour film, although I would argue it should not be a 2-hour film, basically. I think it's like an hour and 58 minutes with credits. So it's basically a 2-hour film. It's definitely too long for what it is, but I did like the film. I do think it's worth seeing. It came out this year, and I don't feel, well, I'm putting this review out in 2024. So it came out last year, I should say, and I didn't hear a whole lot of people talking about it. I did hear some people kind of say, I was a little disappointed in it. I don't see why anyone would be all that disappointed. Although maybe that's just because I went in with pretty low expectations, because it's one of those things where this is a backstory to something that is very well known within the horror community, which is the Demeter and what happened on the voyage of the Demeter to the new world, carrying Dracula. So it's a film that you don't really go in not knowing anything. You actually probably go in knowing a lot, unless you're someone who's somehow not heard of this, which actually is pretty great to go in not knowing that about this film. It would be even more entertaining. But I went in with pretty low expectations, and I think it definitely exceeded my expectations. I think it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So yeah, but it's still not like the most phenomenal thing. But anyway, let me talk about it more. No spoiler, obviously. Directed by Andre Ovredal, who also did Troll Hunter, The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which, if you have not seen, is a must, in my opinion. Phenomenal film. And Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Sorry, it's been one of those days. I haven't seen that one. I know it's like PG-13 horror, but it looked interesting to me. Let me know if it was any good. This one's written by Bragi F, who also wrote Threshold and Escape Room. I haven't seen Escape Room. I heard it's actually surprisingly good for what it is. And Samaritan. And then also Zak Olkewicz, who wrote Bullet Train and the 1978 installment of the Fear Street trilogy that was on Netflix, which actually was a pretty good trilogy of movies. I didn't review them at the time. I probably should have, but you know. This is obviously based off the book Dracula by Bram Stoker. And one thing I wanted to point out is this film has Liam Cunningham in it, who I think is like perfect for this type of film. You know, it's like old, what year is it? 1897 is when they start things. It's like old-timey, like on a boat. And he was Davos Seaworth in the Game of Thrones show. So if people have seen him in that, you're just like, yeah, he just fits perfectly as this captain of this boat of the Demeter in this film. Also, I love his acting. I think he's great. Also, for people who really like David Dastmalchian, who legit is a horror fan, he is in this and he does an outstanding job. But that kind of leads me to something else, is the cast really does a phenomenal job in this film, and I think that really does help sell what story there is there. In addition to that, there is an interesting enough backstory to this. Because like I said, like going in, I didn't have high expectations because I'm like, okay, like I pretty much know what goes on. But the thing is, do you really know? Because that's the thing with clever writers, is they can figure out how to wiggle things around what you think you know and kind of show you something different. And I think that was done to a pretty decent degree with this film. So pretty happy with it, really. Don't really need to go into a synopsis right now because I basically already said it. You know, it's the Voyage of the Demeter with Dracula on it, and there's problems, and it's horror, and it's light some of the times, but dark a bunch of the other times, and you would know why. The film takes place in 1897 and feels very much of its time due to a few things. The dialogue is written well to represent that time. The acting does a really good job selling that. The set design looks appropriate, looks great, and the costuming is extremely well done. So a lot of really good technical components come together to kind of make the atmosphere and make the time period feel exactly what it should be for this film. So I think there are a lot of wins in that respect for this movie. The movie seems very heavy-handed from the start when it comes to hinting at bad things coming. There's a lot of stuff like, oh, look at this, oh, look at this, ooh, bad omen here, bad omen here. And it feels like it really does kind of beat you over the head, unfortunately. So that heavy-handedness is a problem. Thankfully, it's only something that's really done until the evil is actually, you know, revealed, because we all knew it was coming. Also, if you've ever seen a trailer for this movie, you know exactly what this movie is going to be. It spoils so much, except the ending, obviously, but it spoils so much of the movie. But yeah, I just felt like they were way too heavy-handed. I would have liked to see it be a lot more restrained in that respect and not do too much, oh, this is an omen, oh no, the dread. And that leads to another thing, which is, I think, while it's comprised quite well, like constructed quite well, the score is also very heavy-handed in moments where they're trying to get you to feel like scared or intensity or dread or whatever. So I'm just not a fan of that when they get real heavy-handed on that. It is shot very well. Now, if you've seen any Andre Ovredal stuff, you would know that the dude knows what he's doing. It's going to look good. All of his films have looked really good, and this is no exception. Cinematographer did an excellent job. Ovredal did a really good job with his direction and his overall vision for the film. So it looks good. It's very nice to look at aesthetically. Although there is something that I didn't like all that much, and that is the fact that CGI, the use of CGI in this, like the use of CGI pretty much anywhere, didn't have me loving it. The design of the Dracula creature actually is not bad. I'm okay with it. I don't think it was like great, but it was decent. I was okay with it. The problem is, a lot of the time it is done in CGI. Now, I understand that that was probably easier for the production of the film, and some of the things that they have this creature do, but it doesn't play out that well. Like, it doesn't look great, honestly, because for me, there's always this issue of CGI, like the physics of it, the movement and everything. It just doesn't quite look real. And that's kind of my big problem with it. Now, I know there are people who that's not an issue for, so that's great. It's just a me thing, I guess. A boat in the middle of the ocean is an effective setting for a horror film because there's no way to escape, pretty much. And that's one of the great things about doing a movie like this, is that the intensity is ratcheted up just by the fact of, okay, the audience knows you're on a boat. All these characters are on a boat. They're on a boat with something dangerous, and how are they going to get out of this? You know, like, they're literally trapped. They have very limited options in what they can do. Add on top of that the fact that these are people who don't know what vampires are. They don't really understand Dracula or anything like that. So from their perspective, and you're seeing it from their perspective, they got to figure some things out. What kills this thing? What does its thing want? You know, things like that. So it's effective. They do have voiceover captain's log readings that Liam Cunningham does, which I like. I know there are plenty of people out there who are like, voiceovers, hate them in films. I think they can be used well. Yes, they are annoying and don't work well sometimes, but with this, I think it works really well. Also, you know, Liam Cunningham, I just think, does a really good job, so I just like hearing his voice, and it works. I think the captain's logs kind of add something cool to the film. They do something I did not think they would have the guts to do, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Something I expected they would not be doing in this film, and they did it, and I give them a thumbs up for going there. Just going to leave it there. But if people want to talk spoilers, you can do it in the comments, so we can talk about that if you want to. The ending is solid. It's not like a phenomenal ending. It is a pretty good ending, though. I was pretty happy with it, especially that very final scene kind of gives you a little bit of something exciting to kind of leave you after the movie. You know, like, you walk away from the movie feeling a little bit invigorated by something that they do in that very, very last scene. So I like that. That's pretty nice. The movie is entirely too long for what it is, though. That's the big problem for me. This should not have been a basically 2-hour film for what the content is. That said, it is still a pretty good film. Had they cut it down a bunch, I think it really could have helped with the overall pacing, because there are these issues with pacing from time to time with the film. And then the last thing I just want to say is this movie makes a point of saying you should be using your intellect as opposed to just using old thinking that's been drilled into you. It's this whole thing, and this is something from my work that I kind of learned about, but a lot of other people didn't apparently. The idea of what's called old mental models, where people just have certain ways of thinking, so they just always want everything to fit into that way of thinking. And it makes it then so that when you have a problem come up, people aren't looking for the best ways to deal with the problem. They're just trying to do what's comfortable and using that old mental model. Just be like, oh, well, this is what we do, so this is just what we do. Instead of being like, hey, let's actually be smarter about this and you know, in this case, have a better chance of surviving maybe. So, yeah. But anyway, out of 5 stars with half stars in play, I'm excited to say I gave it 3.5 stars. I didn't think going in I was going to give it that high, but 3.5 stars, pretty good. Again, I would love to hear what other people have to say about this film. You can put it in the comments whether you agreed with me or not, because I am always down to hear differing opinions on this. Maybe there's something I missed. Maybe there's something I should consider a little bit more, and it could change how I view the film. This is about opening a dialogue with people, so go ahead and put some comments down there. And just give me like a sentence or two why you did or didn't like it. Or you can go longer if you want to. I'm fine with that. But please do me a favor, hit like on this video if you liked it at all. Also, subscribe to my channel if you like this video or any video I've ever made. That's a really good way to repay me for all the free content. And then also you can hit the notification bell button, because then you'll know when I'm putting up new videos. But thank you so much for taking your time to watch this. I do appreciate that. And until next time, keep it brutal.